before human design, I used to be like, was I even meant to be a mom? Like, I don't have the patience for this. I would get so overstimulated. Sometimes I'm like, am I even built to do this? I would always have those limiting beliefs. And once I started to give the language to why I have those thoughts, it just gave me the freedom. And honestly, it gave me the power back to my life, because I do feel like at an early age, we do give our power away to our parents, to teachers, to doctors, to high influence individuals, and they've programmed us and put their beliefs onto us. Good is what we want to believe, what beliefs were put into us, but some of that journey comes with beliefs that aren't in alignment with who we truly are. So I feel like, honestly, finding your human design gives you your power back.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life in marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I am so excited about today's episode, guys. I don't know if you know this. I don't often talk about this or market this, but I use human design with some of my clients. And a lot of you don't actually know what that is. And I'm excited about today's episode because I have my guest here, Mackenzie Byram, and she's going to be talking about human design, but also about something that I've been talking more about. I'm trying to educate you guys on nervous system regulation, and we're going to put those two together in this conversation today. So today I have here, like I said, Mackenzie Byram. She is a nervous system strategist and a human design specialist, and I'm so excited to put these two together. I've never thought to think about how these two can connect with each other and how they work with each other, but I'm just really intrigued about how this works and how she works with the two systems, things that are really about self-awareness and helping us live our best lives as individuals, as partners, as parents, just as any kind of role that you play. This comes into account. And so, Mackenzie, thank you so much for being a guest here. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited as well. Obviously, love these two topics. So excited to dive in.
Yes. I also want to mention that she is the podcast host of the Clean Mom Edit, which I had the pleasure of being on recently. So go check out her podcast. But in the meantime, let's dive in. Before we actually get into the subject matter, can you please share with people a little bit more about you? Where do you live? How old are your kids? And what made you go into this world of nervous system regulation and human design?
Yeah. So as Michelle said, I'm Mackenzie. I am in central Illinois, which I'm wishing I wasn't here necessarily because I am over the winter, as it was 31 degrees still today. I'm like, come on, Mother Nature, with this. We had an 80-degree day yesterday, or 2 days ago. And so I call them my hope days. And so I can't wait when my hope days become consistent. So I'm in Illinois. I have 3 kiddos. My oldest is 7. I have a 4-year-old and a 17-month-old. So I'm still in the thick of motherhood and toddler life, which is fun and chaotic at the same time. I am married to my college sweetheart. His name is Trevor. This is our year of marriage. I just wanted to mention that, to have a era of marriage while raising children. And then I found human design. I actually say human design found me through the algorithm. It was last July, really, whenever I started really getting ingrained in it, because I had just hit a threshold of burnout. I was actually a talent acquisition manager in a fertility network. And my youngest son had some health issues that we're not being, let me say, like my expectations of caretaking was not being met with the daycare. And so I had to make a really hard decision on if I'm going to continue to grow in the corporate ladder or if I'm going to take a step home, raising my kids alongside of really getting ingrained in my business. And so I decided to take that path, and it's led me to here. So whenever I found human design, I'm like, this is so cool. I kind of put it as like, it's like a Myers-Briggs, like a personality test. And so I'm like, I love all these tests, like, being in corporate, I feel like they were always, talking about like team building and stuff. And so I found this tool. And then after that, like I was reading so much about it, but I was like, it wasn't landing. And I'm like, why is this not working? And I realized that I had a dysregulated nervous system. Like my baby wasn't sleeping. I was just going through like an identity shift of like being a stay-at-home mom. Like I said, the chaos of 3 kids, marriage, the schedules, all of that. I realized like I just was in complete spiral mode. And so once I started actually regulating my nervous system and implementing my human design is when the magic started to happen. So that is why I started actually talking about this more, because I feel like more and more I hear that people know what human design is, but they look at it as just another personality test. And I want people to stop looking at it as just a personality test and look at it as a blueprint to their life.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, so as much as I love personality tests, those are often very subjective because it's based on our own self-awareness, because we answer those questions about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing with human design actually is that we input things about us, like our birth date, our birth time, and our birthplace. So it really is about where all the stars and planets were aligned at that very moment. And for those of you who aren't into astrology and they're like, okay, like this is some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds weird, but I've not met a person who I've read their human design chart and they're like, that's not me. It's often quite the opposite, where they're like, how did you know that about me? I don't know anything about you. I'm just reading your chart based on the information you gave me, like the actual moment in time that you were born and how everything was set up. Mm-hmm. But anyway, for those of you who are not familiar with human design, or maybe you've seen it and you're kind of like, oh, that's different. Let's kind of just lay the foundation. Can you share what human design is?
Yeah. So how I like to really explain it is super simple and digestible, because I feel like, I'm sure a lot of the audience here are moms and we like bite size, straight to the point. So basically, human design is understanding how you're built, how you're wired, how your energy works, how you make decisions, why you experience life the way you do. Mm-hmm. Nervous system regulation, how I kind of interlace the two, is what actually allows you to actually live that. So it's what helps your body feel safe. It's what helps your body find the space, and it allows you enough to slow down and to actually notice and to respond instead of always reacting or overriding yourself consistently. So the two together, they are such a matchmaker, because you can understand your design, but if you don't have your nervous system and it's, completely overwhelmed, like you won't be able to follow it. So the human design, it shows you what is actually true for you, and your nervous system regulation helps you access that in real life.
Yes, so much so. And I mean, if you choose to go down the rabbit hole of human design, it truly is a rabbit hole. It is incredible to learn these things about you, like how you affect other people, how you are affected by people, how it works with your family dynamics. I mean, it truly goes pretty deep.
Yeah. And it benefits all areas of your life too. Mm-hmm. I mean, just to focus on a few that I feel like, are most important and kind of like my foundation are like self mastery. So first off, you have to understand yourself, and then relationships. I love this because, basically relationships with your marriage, I think comes, first, and then, or after your self mastery, and then your kids, and then relationship with your family. Like it really tells a story of like, how to connect with one another, how to go through life and work, through, this, crazy world together. Career, it also tells you, how to like, even like what, if you have your business, like what offers to offer and what's going to, is it one-on-one coaching or is it, group coaching? Like it really truly tells you how to set your business up. And then also nervous system, like regulation, like it truly tells you like what you should do to keep yourself regulated. So I feel like those are like the 4 components that I've really focused on, because like you said, like human design is such a rabbit hole. Like whenever I first got into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so massive. Like I don't know where to kind of focus on. So I feel like dialing it into those 4 areas really helped me digest my human design chart.
Love that. Okay. So, for the practical people out there, how would you describe some of the ways that you've been able to use human design in just everyday, regular life that you've seen have like a positive impact on your experience of life?
Yeah, I think the major way is so really building out my morning routine. So whenever I wake up, I don't just like rush out of bed. Like I take like 3 deep grounding breaths. I actually have like a mirror right beside my bed. So like I stand up, I look in the mirror, and I identify like who I am. Like I say it to myself. And so I feel like having that rhythm from the very beginning of the morning. So I'm a generator. And so basically where my burnout happens is like, yeah, I would feel grounded and, protected in the morning. And I would say, yes, 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 yes. And then at the end of the day, I would feel so overstimulated, so overwhelmed, like so unfulfilled. And I realized it was because I was saying yes to everything. And so now I'm just really self-aware. If somebody asks me to go, for a coffee, or if somebody asks me to do like an event or, whatever it is, like I really take time and like take a deep breath and then answer, or like really just feel in my body, like, is that what I want to do? So I think that's like been the most pivotal way that I have leaned on human design in my everyday life, is just like having acknowledgement about like where my burnout happens and how to avoid that. One thing that I've loved is that, understanding my husband too, our communication has been an area that we have always struggled with. I'm a generator. I'm fast. I can make decisions like, let's go, go, go. He's a projector. He loves to stay home. He's kind of like, he's hermitish. He literally has that in his human design. He cannot tell me an answer right then and there. He can, but I realize like he's borrowing my energy whenever he is telling me that decision. And then later on, he'll come back and he'll say something completely different. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And now I realize that is just how he is designed, is like he's now, fully thought it out and he feels differently. So being more accepting of that, it's been hard, but also just knowing that like that is how he's wired, has made our marriage better. One way that I love using it as with my kids is, so for instance, my oldest, we went through a phase where she would tell fibs or lies because she didn't want to disappoint me. Like, and it was like, super minuscule, nothing big, but it was becoming a trend and I needed to address it. So what I do is I actually put my human design chart into AI. And I have utilized and trained my AI to understand me. And obviously we don't rely on AI completely, but it has been a great tool for me to navigate certain conversations and situations. And so in that, I basically would say like, hey, this is a situation. Can you help me find some verbiage that can make sure it gets across to my generator daughter? So it's helped me tremendously, like finding words to talk with my kids in certain situations. Instead of just questioning myself, you can't just rely like so heavily on it. Like you do have to, kind of do check-ins with yourself whenever you do get the answer. But I will say like I'm an early adopter to like new technology. And so I recommend that. But again, like, you have to take a lot of time in training that. And like I said, like ultimately you are your self-master. And so like whenever you do read that, you have to make sure like it feels in alignment with who you truly are. And the only way to do that is by, taking a deep breath, recognizing like how it feels in your body before you explain that. But those are the areas that I feel like I've been really pivotal in how I've utilized human design in my everyday life as a mom.
I love that. And for those of you, again, who are like newer or absolutely new to human design, there's actually 5 types within human design. And she named what, 2? And yes. I love human design because it teaches us to learn and accept that there are other ways of doing things other than what works for us, right? So what works for us isn't always going to work for other people. And so much of being in relationship with someone, communicating with them, truly like loving, respecting, and accepting them is acknowledging that they may do things differently, need different things, approach things differently, and letting that be okay, right? And so acknowledging that, okay, well, my son is different than me, and I know this because I can see it in his chart, but also I can kind of notice in his behaviors. And coming off the heels of generations who are like, no, you are to be seen and not heard, you are going to fall in line, you need to be obedient, and that's what it means to be good. And then to learn about human design, learn about astrology, learn about all these different personality tests, and be like, oh, you're not trying to be defiant. You're just trying to be you, and I'm not letting you. And so that's like a really humbling moment to have and be like, oh, well, I'm not trying to squash you. So how can I bolster who you're actually designed to be and learn more about that and how to approach you differently without having to change myself, right? Like I don't need to change who I am, but I can tailor how I interact with you so that we're both respected. We're both accepted for our differences and our similarities and connect on that level. And I think the more we're seen as individuals, the more safe we feel, the better the relationship that we have, right? Yep. So that's one of my favorite parts about merging human design with, marriage or with parenthood. And this makes so much sense with the nervous system regulation work that you do, because so much of nervous system regulation is feeling seen and feeling heard.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I've also been in the works with is building. So I have a binder. I'm really trying to get away from utilizing my phone so much. So I've been in the process of printing things out. So I have a binder called like the Byram ecosystem. And I'm slowly chipping away from every like single system that runs my household and putting it in this binder, to like our meal plans, to our schedules, to my cleaning routine. And I'm building each of my systems now because I told you, like I've gone through like a huge identity shift, and really I'm rebuilding my life in a totally different way. And human design is helping me do that. And so it flows like so much easier. So why I'm mentioning this is because you were talking about kids and parenthoods and like parenthood and letting them actually be themselves. I have like a little snippet. I have all of their charts in there, but also like each way of how we regulate. So like my middle son, like he likes touch. So like I do a lot of like embracing, hugging. Like my other daughter, like she has to have like time in her room and then she comes back to it. So like just those little things bring so much more peace into our home. And I went through a complete rebranding of what I do and how I mentor. I used to do a lot of like fitness, nutrition, and that's still part of all of this like human design nervous system. But I feel like it's a minuscule part of it now because human design and nervous system are the foundation. And then you kind of trickle that part in. But I do feel like having those little, like that quick cheat sheet has helped, like I said, bring peace into our home. And I've seen the shift in my home that I want to bring that to every single home in the whole world. So I think that that's why I love all of this.
I love it. So much of what we do is learning more about ourselves, right? Like when we learn about ourselves, like how you said, self-mastery, like mastering ourselves, like being a student of who we are, how we work, what gets us going, what puts a stop to us and dysregulates us. And so much of human design is about learning about our own charts, right? So if you see a chart, it's going to look kind of crazy, right? It's a bunch of shapes that connect with each other. There's a bunch of colors and numbers. And it's like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Yes.
And there's so much power to it once you understand what you're looking at. So human design is a culmination of different systems that have been in place for, I don't know, centuries. Like astrology, like the I Ching, like the Kabbalah, the chakra system, even like there's just a whole lot, right?
Yep.
And I kind of want to go into that. We have 9 centers, but can you share with the moms out there listening and the dads, what's up, dads? How can people get to know themselves better through human design?
Yeah. The main way that I would do that is my favorite part is the centers. So like you said, like when you get your chart, like you see that some of these centers are defined, which means that they're like colored, and some of them are undefined. And whenever they're undefined, that means that like energy can flow, you know, kind of through them, and, you know, case by case scenarios of, you know, that situation or who you're around. Like a lot of things comes into play, you know, with those undefined centers. But the defined are the ones who like truly define you, I feel like. And that's one way that I've really loved. I feel like they are separated by each chakra in a sense. So there's one that's like willpower, your ego. There's another one that's your solar plexus. There's another one. And I know I'm probably like, you know, people who don't know a lot of this, it's a different language that you may have never heard before. There's root. But I think like once I started learning, you know, about like really what my defined and what my undefined were, it made me more confident. I feel like that's the piece. Like it gave me more confident in saying no to things and, you know, really launching a new offer or putting some content out there or planning a trip for my family. So it just helped me be more confident in my decisions and stop questioning and also stop shoulding. Like I used to be such the worst should'er. Like I should be doing the dishes, or I should be cleaning, or my daughter should be in cheer, tumbling, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, like if that doesn't align with who like our family is and who we are, like I don't have to do it, because now I know what our true like family values are. So I think that's how I've like utilized it best, is just gave me more confidence in the direction of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And along that same vein, for me, my ajna and my head are undefined. And I used to think like, oh, I don't ever have any good ideas. I can only take someone else's idea and make it better. And I felt unoriginal, but it's like, no, that makes me open-minded and creative in a different way. So like I might not have consistent energy to come up with ideas if I were just locked in a room with no windows, but I can still exercise creativity in a different way. I can work with people in that sense. And I feel like it gives me permission to accept who I am rather than think there's something wrong with me, which I think a lot of women or just people in general fall into, right? When you compare, but we're all different and it's okay. And that makes the world really beautiful. And so I think
You
it's
trust yourself more, I feel like.
Exactly. I trust myself more, and I learned where my strengths are, like what
Mhm.
natural gifts I have and what areas where I might be a little more susceptible to external influence and I need to check
Yes.
myself, right? Like my husband has a defined ajna and a head. So when we make decisions, I have to kind of like make sure he's not unintentionally convincing me because he's so firm in his beliefs. Like he's like, what I think is what I think. And I'm like,
I am defined
and I
on.
kind of live in the gray, right?
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, let me check back in so I have time for myself to kind of figure this out without you being in my space. So I guess there's also this sense of like how we affect each other, like in proximity. So, like, if you think about like vibrations, right? Like how
Mhm.
there could be an earthquake and then everything is shaking, or like someone is walking through the house really hard, like an elephant, like my husband walks like an elephant. And then other parts of like the house are shaking. It's kind of like that. Like, if you're in the space of someone who has something that's defined, like let's say their head, and you don't, you're going to absorb that. So like wherever you're undefined, you're either going to amplify or absorb their energy, and you need to be cognizant of that. And that's where we end up in those situations where like, wait a minute, I don't think I actually agree with that at all, but you didn't know that
Mhm.
until you left their space. And so there's just so much into this, like truly a rabbit hole. But I think it's always a good thing to learn more about how you work and how you work with other people.
Yeah. I think just the bottom line to this tool and framework is what it's taught me is self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love myself more than I ever have in my entire life because I've done a lot of research thus far in my human design. And I feel like my whole life, like I was always trying to be, I have an older sister, like I was trying to be like her. She's a manifester.
Oh,
So
boy.
very, very different.
Uh-huh.
Or like my mom, she is also a generator, but she has a different profile than me. And I think like just accepting like truly that you are put on this earth to do something, super special, and that you have gifts. Those also come with shadows, but human design helps you navigate those shadows. They help you navigate the hardships in life and how to get through those. Because I feel like you have to have the yin and the yang, in life, and it just brings balance to that. It's not going to solve all your problems. It's going to help you understand how to navigate through those problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk more about like this self-trust, right? So if we're going to talk about like in a practical way, how did you use your chart to learn to trust yourself more, or even just like, I think a lot of women question their decisions, right? Like
Yes.
whether it's the right decision. And I know as an emotional authority, that's a little more challenging for you than for someone who doesn't have emotional authority. So,
Right.
for those of you who don't know, emotional authority is 50% of the population. That means
Yeah.
that
I think it's
it's
even like I just
higher
did
now.
70.
Wow,
Yeah, that's the last I've heard, but it's up
interesting.
there.
Okay. So if you're an emotional authority, depending on your type, obviously,
Right.
it kind of adds a layer to your decision making process, right? So for someone who doesn't have that, they can go through their normal strategy and make decisions. But for people who have an emotional authority, it means that when you are experiencing an emotional high or a low, you're actually still gaining clarity about the situation and what you're feeling and wanting. And
Huh.
so you need to actually wait until you are at a neutral ground level for your emotions. You're not high or low. And then it is time for you to make a decision. So, things that I often have said to my clients who are emotional authority, like, hey, think of canned responses to tell people. If they're like, hey, you want to go on this trip? Sure. Oh, I'm noticing I'm getting really excited about it. That sounds awesome. Let me get back to you in a few days. So you can kind of sit with it and not end up regretting your decision because you kind of jumped into it too quickly and you were riding the high, only thinking of the potentially good outcomes that can come out of it. Like one of my favorite examples to give is like, let's say you went to Disneyland and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best place on earth. I need to buy an annual passport to this place.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go home and you're like, why did I do that? I live 10 hours away. How am I going to go enough times to make this worth it? And then you're like, damn. And you kind of like feel shitty about it, right? You feel the guilt and the shame. And so anyway, back to my original question. How can people with emotional authority and people who don't have emotional authority use human design to learn to trust themselves? Like, let's talk about you. Like, how's your journey been with self-trust?
Yeah. So what you just mentioned has been the hardest thing of my journey to actually put into action. I was that person that like, I would say yes to everything because I was a people pleaser. And just in motherhood, like, I feel like the urgency was always like trailing behind me. And like, I had to make a decision right then and there because like, I didn't want to think about it again. And I thought that was better to make a decision at that moment in time instead of like waiting and writing it out. And I realized that once I found my human design, that's just not how I process things. For me, it is actually allowing myself enough time to make a decision that's going to support my life and my goals and, be in alignment with my values. So a lot of times I'm just so more self-aware, like you said, of like, if someone asked me to be on their podcast or if somebody asked me to go on a play date, like I truly do say like, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And that little, that little statement has helped me tremendously in my human design or in my life. And just like feel more confident. And also just like, I don't have the bracing anymore. Mm-hmm. Like I'm in flow. I've felt the flow. Now I'm addicted to the flow. Mm-hmm. The flow is scary though at times because once I do get to that neutrality and I do realize like what I want and what direction, it doesn't sometimes feel logical, mm-hmm. but I've embraced it regardless. And I think that is going to be one of the hardest things as an emotional authority to go through is actually embracing the non-logical areas of your life or decisions. So I feel like that's kind of been my journey in my emotional authority of how I've kind of adopted it and learning how to utilize it.
Yeah. I love that you said how, that's challenging because it's like not the logical choice, but not everything needs to be logical, right? Like, and I know that sounds a little batshit crazy, but bear with me. Okay. If we were to only do logical things, I think we need to think about how did logic get defined for us? Oftentimes it's societal, what's considered normal and common. But like I said, we're not all the same. We're not all meant to do the same thing, to live the same life, to experience life the same way. We all have such unique gifts. Like if I were to do the logical thing, I would not be a marriage coach, right? I would have continued working in corporate.
Right.
I also would not have this podcast. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but the last episode that I aired was episode 281. Okay.
Woo.
And so like doing the logical thing is not always our path, mm-hmm. right? And so much of following our design is living up to our fullest potential and utilizing our gifts and how we're meant to contribute to this world and do it in an aligned way where we feel good about life, right? And that's such like a new way to live compared to our parents and their parents, right? It's about survival and just like getting shit done and making sure there's food on the table. But we've gotten to this place in life where it's like we can go after what we desire and put food on the table, right? We can enjoy life and not just like live it, just like survive it, right?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the time before human design, I used to be like, was I even meant to be a mom? Like, I don't have the patience for this, like being touched. Like I would get so like overstimulated, sometimes like, I'm like, am I even like built to do this. Like, I would always have, those limiting beliefs like come constantly rolling through my head. And I feel like that once I started to give the language, to why I have those thoughts, or I shouldn't be living that way or doing like what that person's doing because like I'm not wired that way. Like it just gave me the freedom and honestly gave me more power. I love this because I feel like, whenever I first found human design, it felt like so astronomically huge. Like I don't even know where to begin, kind of like losing myself. But then once you started narrowing in, it gave me the power back to my life. Like, because I do feel like, at an early age, we do give our power away to our parents, to teachers, to doctors, to high influence individuals, and they've programmed us and they are different people and they've put their beliefs onto us. Good, I know, is what we want to believe, what beliefs were put into us. But, some of that journey comes with bad beliefs too, or, beliefs that aren't in alignment with who we truly are. So I feel like, honestly, finding your human design gives you your power back.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. I always love talking about human design, and I was so excited when I learned that you did this. I'm like, yes, let's talk about it. It's been a while since I've talked about it on the show, and it truly is one of my favorite tools to use in life and just to understand myself, because this is not like, back when we read those like magazines, in our teen years, like Cosmo, oh, let me look up my horoscope. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, no, it is way more specific.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, astrology is more specific too. But for the purposes of the magazines, like they can only generalize, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, like here's your sun sign, like I'm an Aries, but there's so much more to you than just your sun sign, right? There's different houses, there's your moon, your rising, all of these different things that maybe
degrees even, like,
yes,
I'm like,
exactly.
holy moly.
Yes. And if you are not a believer because of those magazines, those are generalized. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like, I don't connect with that at all, so like all of this is just like whatever, give this a chance. Okay. If you're just a little bit intrigued, try it out. Okay. There are free websites where you can look up your chart. Go hit up MaKenzie and learn more about yourself and how you can start to use this in your everyday life to feel more empowered about how you're really meant to make decisions for yourself so that you can feel better about your life and feel more resilient through nervous system regulation and tools that come with that, and being able to use those two in combination to really live out your fullest potential in life as an individual, as a partner, as a parent. MaKenzie, where can people connect with you?
Yes, I am on Instagram mainly at the Clean Mom Edit. You can find me. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, you can also find me on podcasts, the Clean Mom Edit podcasts. So take a peek. I do a lot of human design chit chat and also just wellness and general on my interviews. And then I do have my membership. It's called Align. And basically I am teaching women, moms, how to integrate their human design in their everyday life. So if you have checked it out, and like you said, Michelle, that it is a little bit overwhelming once you get on any of those free tools that give you your human design, you can join our membership and talk through that with the community and learn about how to integrate that.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for being a guest, MaKenzie. For those of you who know someone that could benefit from this, please share this episode with them. Better yet, post it in your Instagram stories and share it there. Human design has been such a fun journey to land on. Like you,
Who
it kind
doesn't
of
love
just
to learn more about
found me,
themselves?
right? Oh my gosh.
that.
The last time I went on my annual girls trip, everyone was like, okay, Michelle, tell me more about my chart. Like they just love it. And it's like their eyes are always so wide, they're like, how can this know about me? And
I feel like the kids are where my girlfriends always are like, Oh my gosh, that is my kid. Because sometimes I feel like they don't even know themselves. And that was me years
Yes.
ago. But yeah, I feel like the kids, they obviously know them in and out. So they're always so shocked by it.
Yeah, but how awesome would it have been if we were raised in a way that supported our design, right? And that's how I strive to raise my kids, just like knowing how they are, what their tendencies are, what their needs are, and really like tailor how I raise each of them and how I deal with any challenges with them. And it is more work on my part, but it does make the relationship easier.
Yeah.
Right, in the long term. So anyway,
Yes. Honestly,
so
like I want this in corporate. I want this
yes,
in like school
everywhere.
systems. I think it would benefit like so tremendously. And I know like Australia, Europe, like it is popular there. It's in pretty much every
Cool.
industry systems. And so we're slowly
I didn't know that. I
really?
love that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's huge in those countries. Honestly, whenever I first started this, like a lot of my mentors are from Australia or Europe. And so that was their main push. And whenever I started mentioning it to people around here, they were like, yeah, I know human design. And I was like kind of shocked by it, which I loved. And everybody gave me like so much, like, yeah, it's changed my life. So I feel like it's here. It's just not voiced, you know, to the capacity, but that is my, I feel like purpose is to at least bring it into homes and then we'll tackle the rest of it.
Yes, I love that so much. Okay. I could talk to you forever. And we're going to just have to do another episode together. If you love this show, thank you so much for listening. Please consider leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I would so appreciate that from you. And that's what helps this show grow and help more people like you get the help they need. Thank you so much. And I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.